1976. Late afternoon. The heat hung over the rolling hills of Montana, grass bent under the wind, and in the distance dust began to rise. At first it looked small, almost nothing, but within minutes it spread like a storm moving across the land. On a ridge overlooking the valley, General George Armstrong Custer watched. He believed he had found a village he could strike, a quick victory, a decisive blow. But what he was really looking at was one of the largest gatherings of Native American warriors ever seen on the Great Plains. And within the next 30 minutes, everything would fall apart. To understand those final moments, you have to understand the mistake. Custer believed the village along the Little Bighorn River was small, maybe a few hundred people, a group that would scatter at the first sign of attack, but hidden along that river were thousands. Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho families had gathered there. Warriors, yes, but also women, children, entire communities. Leaders like Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse had drawn them together, not to run, but to stand. When Custer approached with the 7th Cavalry, he didn't wait. He didn't scout long enough. He didn't confirm the size of what he was facing. Instead, he made a decision that would define everything that followed. He split his force. 3 separate commands. Major Reno would attack from the south. Captain Benteen would move to support from another direction, and Custer would lead his own detachment north. It was meant to surround the village, to trap it. But instead, it divided his strength at the worst possible moment. At first, everything seemed to go according to plan. Reno's men charged toward the village. Gunfire echoed. Horses thundered across the valley. But then something changed. Instead of fleeing, warriors began to appear. Not dozens, not even hundreds. Hundreds became thousands. They rode fast, organized, confident. Reno's line collapsed under pressure. Men dismounted, fired blindly, then broke, retreating in chaos across the river, climbed the bluffs in desperation, and in that moment, Custer lost half his support. To the north he continued moving, still believing he could strike the village from another angle, still unaware of the full scale of what was coming. But the warriors already knew. They had seen the soldiers. They had counted them. And now, they were moving to surround them. Custer's detachment, around 200 men, reached the ridges north of the village. From there, they could see everything. The river winding below, the vast camp stretching along its banks, and the movement. Warriors gathering, riding toward them. Fast. This was the moment the truth became clear. This was not a raid. This was not a quick strike. This was a battle they were already losing. The first shots rang out, short, sharp bursts of gunfire. Custer's men formed lines along the ridge, trying to hold position, trying to slow the advance. But the warriors did not charge blindly. They moved with strategy, using the terrain, dipping into ravines, circling through cover, closing the distance piece by piece. And then, the encirclement began. What followed was not one clean battle. It was chaos, fragmented, relentless. The soldiers began to fall back, from one ridge to another, trying to find ground they could defend, but each position lasted only minutes. Gunfire came from every direction, the sound of rifles, mixed with war cries, mixed with the panic of men realizing there was no escape. Horses were shot. Some soldiers used their fallen mounts as cover. Others tried to regroup into tighter formations. But the line kept breaking. Groups became smaller, isolated, surrounded. Archaeological evidence tells us something chilling. The spacing of shell casings, the pattern of fallen bodies. It shows that the soldiers were not fighting together anymore. They were fighting in pockets, each group on its own, each one overwhelmed. Custer himself was likely near the highest ground, a last defensive position, trying to rally what remained of his command. But by then, it was already over. Warriors closed in from every side. The firing grew closer, faster, then hand-to-hand combat, within minutes. Silence began to replace the gunfire. When other Iroquois arrived the next day, they found a battlefield frozen in time, bodies scattered across the hills, some where they had made their final stand, others where they had tried to flee. Weapons lay beside them, unfired rounds still in place. Not a single man from Custer's command had survived. Roughly 200 soldiers gone in less than an hour. For years, people tried to understand. How could an entire command be wiped out so completely? The answer lies in those final 30 minutes. Custer underestimated his enemy. He divided his forces, and he walked into a battlefield where the advantage had already shifted. But for the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors, this was something else entirely. It was not just a battle. It was a defense of land, of people, of a way of life that was already under threat. Today, the hills of the Little Bighorn are quiet. Grass moves in the wind. The river flows as it always has. But beneath that silence lies the memory of 30 minutes that changed everything, a moment where confidence met reality, and history was rewritten in the space of half an hour.